Hey everyone, it's August 14th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with serial killer Ronald Gray, who murdered at least 4 women in the mid-1980s, and that is him right over there. Gray was born in 1965 in Cochran, Georgia, but spent his childhood living in a housing project in Miami. His childhood was far from ideal, with multiple father figures coming in and out of his life, at least one of whom was abusive towards both Gray and his siblings, beating them with a belt until blood was drawn. To escape his situation, he enlisted in the Army when he turned 18, being initially assigned to a target acquisition unit and later becoming a cook. He stayed in the service until his arrest, being stationed at Fort Liberty, formerly known as Fort Bragg, in North Carolina, rising to Specialist E4, which is one rank above a private first class. Now married with a stepdaughter, things seemed to be going well in his life, and he enjoyed jogging in his neighborhood and lifting weights in his front yard while listening to music. But just 2 years after joining the military, he committed heinous acts that left at least 4 women dead and at least 6 more who had been sexually assaulted and beaten. In April of 1986, Gray knocked on the door of a young woman who was a student at neighboring Campbell University, asking to use her phone. She let him in her mobile home, where he proceeded to sexually assault and murder her. Over the next 9 months, he would assault at least 8 more women, with 3 of them becoming murder victims. Many of them were residents of the very same mobile home park, and residents of the area were justifiably terrified. His second and third murder came just 4 days apart in December of that year, when a woman was raped and shot to death in her trailer, then another disappeared and had her home burned down, with her car being found a block away. This time he had killed a private who was also stationed at Fort Liberty, and her body was found in January of the next year, having been raped, beaten, and shot multiple times. 2 weeks before her body was found, he tied up and sexually assaulted a private in her barracks before stabbing her repeatedly. Luckily, she survived, but 3 days later he killed his final victim, a cab driver who he had pick him up at his house. Her nude body was discovered the next day by a military patrol, having been bound, gagged, sodomized, and stabbed. Gray was quickly arrested with his fingerprints all over the car, and at that time investigators realized the totality of his actions. He eventually confessed to numerous rapes and 4 murders, and when the case was publicized, victims came forward with evidence about the man. Due to the nature of the crimes, and some occurring on base with fellow soldiers being victims, he was tried in both civilian court and at a military court-martial. He received 8 life sentences from the state of North Carolina and was sentenced to death by the military tribunal. There are many quirks of law involved, and the appeals process has been incredibly lengthy, with some decisions coming as recently as in 2018, a full 30 years after his conviction. President George W. Bush signed a death warrant for Gray in 2008, which made him eligible to be the first military prisoner to be executed since 1961, and he remains behind bars at Fort Leavenworth in Kansas. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Ronald Gray, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.